Welcome back to another episode of Measured. We appreciate you joining in today. Today, we're going to talk about a few different stories, which is sometimes my favorite podcast or episode that we do is when it isn't just all on one topic. So there's a few different things that have been changing this month that we just thought would be fun to share. And the first is a data deal that changes how AI recommends local businesses. The second one is a Google measurement tool getting more powerful in ways most business owners have not noticed. And the third is Google Ads change that took effect on August 17th. So just the other day, that one took effect, and we're going to dive into each one of them. None of them are like monster huge news, but they're all just relevant to what we help our customers out with, so that we thought would be relevant. We're sharing with you as well. So the first one is Yelp is now feeding your reviews into ChatGPT. And I was going through this article that I was reading, and I can't remember the last time I was on Yelp, which means I have not talked about Yelp to any of our customers to have them go look. But on the end of July, it was reported the details of a major data licensing deal between Yelp and OpenAI. Yelp had first disclosed the agreement in its February 2026 earnings release. The July report confirmed what the deal actually does. So here's what's changed. OpenAI now has license access to Yelp's entire local business data set. That is roughly 330 million reviews and more than 8 million business listings. When you ask ChatGPT for a local recommendation, a restaurant, a plumber, a contractor, ChatGPT can now pull directly from Yelp's data to answer. Go check your Yelp right now. Make sure it's relevant. The response includes star ratings, reviews, snippets, business photos, and links to Yelp. Coming soon, Yelp's request a quote feature will be built directly into ChatGPT. And even more recently, Yelp announced ChatGPT integration for reservations and waitlist bookings. So the deal is not non-exclusive. Yelp already licenses data to Apple Maps, Yahoo, Amazon's Alexa Plus, Microsoft, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and others. This is not just about ChatGPT. It's about Yelp becoming the local business data layer for AI in general. Yelp is reinventing himself. How awesome is that? And I shouldn't even say that because there might be a lot of people out there that use Yelp. I just am not happen to be one of them. So going back through another report, Yelp found that 65% of Americans have used AI search. It's a no-brainer for me. Only 15% trust it, in quotes, a lot. The quotes part made me laugh. AI companies need to be trusted source data to close that gap. Yelp is one of the deepest local review data sets available. This deal makes Yelp the answer AI companies land on, which, I mean, when we're talking about content in general, and we're talking about our customers' content on their site and being authentic and providing value, I mean, a lot of what they're doing is trying to provide that value, provide that trust factor. Obviously, in the past, you can always see it pull on Google reviews. So it'll be interesting now that it can pull on Yelp's as well. So Yelp usage varies a lot by market. In big metros like San Francisco or New York, Yelp is essential to how people find local businesses. In smaller markets, like in our rural areas, Yelp usage is much lower. If you are a service business, you might reasonably say, I've never had a customer find me through Yelp, and that's fair. And we're talking about like if you were here in Spencer, I don't know how many people could come to you and say, I found you through Yelp. I was just talking to a customer on the phone, found us through Google. But I would have loved if he told me he found me through Yelp. But I can honestly say I haven't looked at our Yelp profile, before this episode. And it's just interesting how you don't pay that much attention lately to those other local listings that are out there. And I just think it's pretty awesome that Yelp is doing this. But I think the bigger point is not you must be on Yelp. The bigger point is that third-party review data is now feeding AI recommendations. So there's going to be other ones that come out and do this as well. So paying attention to what your industry has, what options you have for different softwares like Yelp or different companies that are like Yelp that are very relevant to you, because more than likely those will start coming forth as well. And there is nothing better than having those trust factors. So yes, you might need to be going and asking for some Yelp reviews from your customers. We'll see how that all plays effect. And a lot of it will depend on how often Yelp is being referenced in its responses to people's questions. But that'll be something that we pay attention to. And we just thought, hey, this is a little story to add into this episode. So the second part story that we're going to talk about. So Google Search Console is quietly getting more powerful. Google Search Console has quietly been adding measurement capabilities throughout this year, including new property types that let you track how your content on external platforms perform in Google Search. Historically, Search Console only tracked how your own website is performed in Google. Now it can also show you how content associated with your business shows up in search results, including content on social platforms and video platforms like YouTube. I'm very excited about this. I have seen it showing up in different people's accounts. If you're not familiar with what Google Search Console is, if you're working with an agency, and especially if you're working with them on SEO, more than likely they have a Google Search Console tied in or set up for you and is tied into your website. It is a great place to actually see what is happening with inside Google. One of my favorite things is the queries. Queries allow you to see what people actually searched to come onto your site. So people will let you know what keywords you're ranking on. But for me, it's almost what did people search that actually landed them on our site. And so what they're saying is now that you'll be able to see what's also happening in Google with social platforms and YouTube videos. Some other notes I had that matters because Google has been increasingly surfacing this kind of content direct in search results. And what I mean by this kind of content was your social content or videos, a YouTube video about your industry, an Instagram post about your business, all of that performing in search before you had no way to measure it. In one of our previous episodes, we had showed how I think I used an example was a Facebook post for 154i, that if you were searching 154i in our area, that it was actually referencing back to one of our social posts. Now, when someone sees that, you can get that data inside Google Search Console and it will show you that it was presented and it was presented for what, meaning what query that they came in on. And it just now allows you to have more of that visibility. If you post content on external platforms, you now have more ways to find whether that content is showing up in Google search, how often, and for what queries. Those queries, again, what we're talking about is what people were typing in. That is a measurement you literally did not have before. And it's very practical. It's awesome that this is coming out. It doesn't, so far for me, I think it's in all of our accounts, and something I was reading, it hasn't been showing up for absolutely everyone. So if you go into your Google Search Console, you may not see it, but it is supposed to be fully rolling out here. And the specifics of exactly which platforms and property types are supported is still evolving. And Google has been rolling this out in stages through 2026. If you log into Search Console this week and want to see what is available on your account, click the property picker and see what shows up. Different accounts have access to different features depending on the rollout schedule. And that's just kind of what I was saying. I know not everyone has been seeing the same thing. I think a lot of the ones that I have seen are YouTube and Facebook. So having that, being able to see that, connect that, getting that extra data, realizing how organic social helps you, a huge thing that we love, sharing with our customers and just encouraging them to keep posting, sharing out that information, being authentic, just can help you overall with your SEO. And it's just one more way to track it. So the last thing that we have to share with you today is Google Smart Bidding just changed on August 17th. So just the other day here. So Google updated how Smart Bidding handles budget limited campaigns. Target CPA and Target ROAS campaigns are affected. So in short, if your Google Ads campaigns have ever hit your daily budget midday and stopped serving, This change is meant to make those campaigns behave more predictably. I can't talk. Google's smart bidding will now factor budget constraints into its bid decisions more explicitly. The goal is fewer wild swings in performance for campaigns that are frequently budget limited. So for advertisers actively managing budget constrained campaigns, this change should show up as more consistent day over day performance, less we blew through this budget by 10 a.m. We suddenly stopped converting after lunch. And so to me, this is wonderful. Sometimes, depending on the campaign, depending on the budget you have, there's different times that, yes, you could bid more, but it's not worth it. But yes, there's also times that, wow, we blew through that. We had great conversions. Let's keep going forward. And this is just kind of that middle ground to help you control that spend without just like blowing through it really fast. So this is change to how Google's algorithm makes bidding decisions. You may see short-term shifts in your reported CPA or so cost per action or ROAS, return on ad spend, in the days after the change. Do not react immediately. I can't say that enough. So many people with their Google Ads campaigns want to go and make changes immediately. Give the system 7 to 14 days to stabilize before you start adjusting targets. Bid strategies typically need that long to relearn after an algorithmic change. And you have to realize that when you go and make those drastic changes, a lot of times you put yourself back into learning mode and you don't even know you're putting yourself back into learning mode. So yes, there are times you have to make changes. I'm not saying that this won't be one of those times, but let it roll out. Give it those 7 to 14 days. If you or your agency runs Google Ads with smart bidding, this is worth a conversation this week. Check which campaigns are budget limited. Verify smart bidding is set up correctly, and watch performance carefully over the next couple weeks. So just pay attention to your account, which if you're hiring an agency, they are already paying attention to your account, or I should say are hopefully paying attention to your account. Like I said, you may have some stuff that already is budget limited. That doesn't mean you need to go increase your budget. Obviously, the smart bidding can kind of play the role if you really are having true budget constraints, but sometimes you're budget limited because you are getting the return that you want. So your return on ad spend is there. Sometimes if you go spend more, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get it back. So it doesn't make sense. So understand where why you're sitting where you're at. And if you need to spend more or not, but just verify that the smart bidding is set up correctly is first and foremost, and then don't make any drastic changes. You can't take that home. Can't say that enough. Just don't go make any drastic changes with your Google Ads account. So with that, we're going to move into our customer question of the day. And this has nothing to do with this episode, which is usually my favorite. But I was just talking to a customer and they asked me, is it worth still printing business cards for my business? And I haven't been asked this in forever. And I said, yes, I love a great business card. Obviously, it depends on your business, what industry you're in. Do you hand them out often? For most people, you don't need as many as you used to order. But I think it's still something to have. For me personally, we do like the 3-ply, so it's like 3 pieces of paper. They're really thick. If you're going to hand out a business card for me nowadays, make it be a statement. Make it someone that someone's going to remember. Don't hand them some flimsy little piece of paper. More than likely, they're going to throw it away anyway. But I still think like you had that quick moment to impress them. Why not? So is it still worth it? In my mind, absolutely. Have a fun one. That customer, we went and created them. They got the thick ones too. They're awesome cards. They're excited to hand them out. Will they hand out a ton of them? Probably not, but they can if they want to. They'll have them. They're going to be ready to. And like I said, we just didn't order as many as you used to, 5-10 years ago, when it was probably a little bit more common to hand out. And with that, we're going to move into our featured project. And our featured project is Pearson Lakes Art Center. It is lakesart.org. They're located up in Okoboji. We had the pleasure of taking them off a custom CRM and moving them into WordPress for them to be able to manage. And what's really fun about them is that they do truly manage their own site. They are constantly adding, adjusting, changing. They have so much going on up there. They have all the different events that you can take a look at. If you just, like I said, go to lakesart.org and different ways to get involved. If you'd like to get involved, don't be afraid to go to lakesart.org. That is all we have for you today. Please like, comment, and subscribe on whichever platform you're tuning in on, and we'll catch you next time.